Hello, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Under the Radar, the podcast about everything air-related, airy, air-like, air. We have another special episode for you guys today. Follow up on last time, I'd said I wanted to get a guest from one of the Cobalt or Miller servers. God, it's early. I'm sorry.
European.
And one of them came to
You're
us.
derpy.
Everyone, please welcome our special guest.
Thank you. Hello. I'm Daikar.
Daikar is a super cool... Well, my mic just cut out. Daikar is a super cool kid. He is the Cobalt Air Lead for the server smash that's happening in an hour, right at the end of our recording session.
That's correct. I'm originally from Ceres, though, but we merged with Cobalt, and since they did us pretty good in the server smash, they got to keep their name.
Oh, I didn't know the European servers had merge smashes too.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Wow. Okay, this is how out of the loop I am.
Just
Why
a
would it
lot
be any
less
different?
drama on Reddit.
Right. It's like, wow, there was not a lot of bitching. Only the Americans actually whined. Alright, so let us go on topics. I guess you guys cool if I go first?
Yep.
Yeah.
Alright, so this week I'm going to be doing a Daikar interview. And I'm basically actually just going to start out. Daikar, who are you? Like in terms of PlanetSide, like who you are as a player?
I am a dedicated full-time pilot, basically. I mean, when I play, 95% of the time I'm in the air or waiting for resources in the warp gate.
Sky Gods Unite.
And I've been playing the game since the game came out, basically. I think I started like 2 months in, and then when I hit battle rank 30, I started flying, because it was just like, when I spawned the first DSF, I crashed as soon as I left the warp gate, because the controls was just so weird to me, and I was like, holy shit, this is fucking hard. And then I made myself a goal, I'm gonna become the best pilot on the server. I did attain that for a while until we merged with Cobalt, then it got a bit different.
Yeah. Well, that's actually really similar to my story starting out at PlanetSide.
Yeah, it was really nice in the beginning because there were no Skyguards, no lock-ons, no dual bursters, so I bought rocket pods right off the bat with station cash and just farmed the living shit out of the ground.
Did you start out before hovering was a thing?
Yeah, I did. The first time I saw it, it was like, whoa, shit, that guy is totally shooting, because it looked so weird when they flew backwards like that. It was just like, in my mind, that's not supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to happen. It just looked really weird. But then I started looking into it and like just holding space inside the warp gate. And for a while, I figured it out. I actually didn't watch any videos about it until really a lot later. I started watching videos to get more tips, but I figured out most of it on my own, it was just sure, it's not as fast, but it was a lot more rewarding when you finally figured out how to do it.
Okay. And, okay, so did you aspire to become the very best like no one ever was before or after the reverse maneuver became a thing?
I think it was before. I just really liked flying. It was just like so different. I've never really been a fan of first-person shooter games. I mean, I've played Counter-Strike and that's basically the only first-person shooter game I played, and PlanetSide 1, of course. But I've never been a fan of it because I've never really had that good twitch aim, and my reactions aren't that great. So I've always been at a disadvantage when I was playing with my friends. It might have been like, most of my friends are really good. Like one of them is like one of the world's best Quake players. So whenever we had like local area networks, like when we all get together and we played against him, it was just like, you spawn, you die, you spawn, you die. It's like, this is not fun. So I never really got good at it. I've always been more like an RPG kind of player, so I played a lot of World of Warcraft and Diablo and stuff like that. But PlanetSide was really different because it was just, the scale is just in a completely different game. that's why I started playing, because well, I got bored of the first-person shooter aspect of PlanetSide.
Okay, cool. Next question. So this episode won't air until after the Miller Cobalt server smash, and none of us will say anything. So no one will see this until they know the results of your endeavors. But that said, before the fact, you were obviously the Cobalt Air lead. What's your strategy going into this? If you're comfortable sharing that, none of us will.
Yeah, I can actually share. We had a strategy, but we're not going with that anymore. I really liked it because it would have been. I really want to talk about that one because I thought it was really fun. The idea was that we weren't going to pull any air at all in the start, and just drop the entire air platoon on one base and capture that. Because we were counting on Miller to expect us to actually pull 48 ESFs with lock-ons. So we were hoping that they would do the same, and when they just come up there and we don't have any airball, they won't be able to ground pound because they don't have any air to ground. And then once they switch to air to ground, we spawn our airball and take them out and then start air to grounding. But we're not doing that right now. We're doing half and half. So we're gonna do two squads with air to ground, 2 squads with air to air, and we're focusing on Gurney Dam in the beginning.
Okay.
And then that's basically it. It's like I was in the smash against Emerald, and I was only a pilot back then. But the thing that we were really lacking was coordination in the air. Sure, we had air dominance like the entire game, but we weren't using it to our advantage. I mean, Emerald still won, and I think that we should have won that game if we would have used the air a lot better. There was a lot of times when we got the order like, okay, help out, secure the base cap on this base, and then I got there, and there was nothing to shoot at. Like, all the vehicles were dead, they were fighting on the inside, and I was like, okay, there's nothing to do here, and then I just hovered around there for 5-6 minutes doing nothing. Like, that's not what you're supposed to do when you're in the air.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's something you guys did really, really well against Connery, is transitioning your air power into helping your infantry. That's what I've been trying
to really improve, like, have like 100% uptime. When you're flying in the air, you should be shooting at something all the time. So that's what I've been trying to really improve with the Air Force.
Have you been the Cobalt/Series server smash air lead for a while?
I haven't. Back when I was in Ceres, we didn't really have an Air Force. Like, the Air Force consisted of 12 people, not 48. We had 12 back then, and I was the squad leader back then, but it was just impossible to do anything. Like, the most we could achieve was to hold up the enemy Air Force for long enough so they didn't attack the ground, but we couldn't take them out. It turned into a Mexican standoff where if they charged, we killed them, and then we just hovered in front of them.
Mm.
So, and like, it wasn't that fun playing in the server smash when I was in Ceres because we lost every single match. And well, it's not that fun losing, but now we're in Cobalt. It's totally different.
Well, Roids, I think you just got the next strategy for the next Connery match.
Oh, the strategy for Connery is still to get people to show up.
Yeah, I guess we're not quite there yet.
I think that's once we get a full servers.
Yeah,
maybe not for Emerald, but
it's a byproduct of the game slowly losing population, which is less people, less interest.
It was actually really hard to get people for the Connery match, because after we lost against Emerald, there were like 4 or 5 people complaining on the forums that our air were only farming and not doing anything useful. Which was like, well, the only reason we didn't get warp gated was because we had air dominance. And but a lot of the pilots, they really they got upset because people complained about them. So basically they said, we're not going to fly anymore in the service match.
Mm-hmm.
So against Connery, we didn't have our best pilots in the air platoon. Most of them were from Ceres, since I knew most of the Ceres pilots, so I got them to fly.
Oh.
That's good that you got people still.
Yeah.
We're scraping the bottom of the barrel on Connery. Like this last Emerald match, we managed to get 24 pilots. And that was all we could get.
The thing is, my belief with the air is that you don't need great like ace pilots to make an air platoon work.
No, you just need coordination and
you need
fast
people
reaction
that
time.
can listen to orders and just do what they're told, because that's more important. When you have 48 people, individual skill isn't that important anymore. Because one good pilot in a cloud of 12 can really wreak havoc just because he's not being targeted all the time.
Well, that's been one of my favorite things about Server Smash is the anonymity and the ability to, move in and out of fights without being focused, like I do on live server.
I think this might be sort of, well, I think this is definitely an exception, but one really cool experience I had in Server Smash, and I talked about this on an earlier episode, is it was a Connery and Emerald Server Smash a while ago, and it was the one where Emerald first revealed that they were cycling air. Basically, they were cycling their platoons into air so they could constantly have an air squad up. No one would ever be low on resources. And for the first while during the Server Smash, our squad was able to just dominate, and we were all doing absurdly well. Because what we would do, and it was all a squad of ace pilots not running any lock-ons at all. And what we were able to do, and the reason why this worked, was we used we had all of the air battles at the Ascent, and whenever the airball came at us, we would take defensive positions around the mountain. And then once they got close enough, we would pop out of the mountain, like, and all of us at once and attack them. And if anyone ever took any serious like lock-on threats, we'd just weave the missiles into the mountain. And that's how we were able to, because we were good, and we if we isolated someone on this side of the mountain, we could hover fight them. We were breaking all the rules, but it was working. It was really good. And so each pilot's individual skill ended up being a huge, huge contributor to that particular fight until, obviously they just kept pulling scythes. So the logistics made more of a difference. But I think that was one instance where, in particular, where individual skill was really noticeable. Little off topic, but
individual skill is important, but I think working together as a team is really the most important thing.
Yeah,
teamwork.
And that's actually
OP.
where we ended up having problems later on. But yeah, it is there. It may not be hard to, or it may not be easy to see it in a big furball, but individual skill does, I think, definitely have an impact.
I think it only begins to matter when you have two equally organized airballs. Then it starts to matter.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you're up against 48 ESFs and the other team has better tactics, like he sends in 2 squads at flight ceiling and then 2 squads comes in from below and then hits the airball from below, it's not going to really matter. The guys that hits them from below is going to be at a major disadvantage compared to if you have everything at flight ceiling.
Well, all right, I'll transition to the next question here. So now I want to move on to sort of just asking about Cobalt and sort of how it compares to the American servers. Have you, by the way, ever flown on Emerald or Connery?
I've played on Emerald a few times. I think I'm battle rank 25 or something.
Okay, then I'll start off on that. What about Emerald did you notice that was different than Cobalt/Series?
Not much, to be honest. I mean, from the air perspective, there is not that much of a difference. There's good pilots and there's bad pilots. And I don't know. I never encountered a lock-on squad or anything like that. Maybe I was lucky. I don't know. But
do you have a lot of lock-on squads on? I'll just go ahead and stick to Cobalt.
Yeah, not really. We had one a few days ago, but I think it was one of the squads from the air platoon, so they were practicing, but they weren't 100% lock-ons. They had like 2 lock-ons, 2 KODs, and fuel tanks. I think a loadout like that in a squad is a lot better than just going 100% lock-ons.
Yeah, probably, because then the
Yes.
lock-ons can be the support
Yeah,
damage.
but you want the lock-ons to hang back and just be annoying fucking assholes that you can't get to
Right.
because there's 4 guys in the way coming at you.
Okay. And is that the sort of accepted comp when you're doing server smash, like half and half lock-ons and afterburners?
Yeah, most of the time I leave it up to the squad leaders and the individual players. I don't want to force a loadout onto someone. Like, there's a lot of players in my platoon that are really against lock-ons. They don't want to use them, me included. I will never use lock-on. Even if someone tells me to use lock-ons, I won't use it. I will go fuel tanks. So I don't force people to use
But the
a loadout.
Araxium!
Fuck the Araxium. If it doesn't make me better at the game, I ignore it.
Mm.
So I haven't done any directives or whatever.
In that case, it kind of works out because the sort of socially easiest thing to do, where people are asking you what to run, tell them to run lock-ons, and if you're running with aces, have them run afterburners. It ends up having the best mix for your squad.
Exactly. The good pilots, most of the time, they tend to choose the fuel tanks because they enjoy them more, and the less skilled pilots will go lock-ons or KODs.
And I guess the upfront afterburner bruisers probably need to be good anyway. So yeah, that actually really works out. Anyway,
but no, we don't have that many lock-ons. I mean, I die to lock-ons like every now and then on Cobalt, but it's not. I don't think lock-ons are that annoying, in my opinion. I mean, I try to always put myself in the other pilot's shoes, and like getting jumped by an ace over and over. I mean, I've killed people so many times. That's not fun either. So, sure, it's not fun getting killed by a lock-on, but it's not fun getting jumped by an ace either. So.
Well, in Connery, we're starting to see what we have been seeing for at least half a year now, where aces will be running like ace squads with lock-ons. So it's like an even more compounding factor. So what they'll do is like they'll alpha strike you either with the nose gun or with the lock-ons, and then you're gibbed to the point almost instantly, and then finish you off with their other weapon that they didn't use. Sometimes nose guns, sometimes coyotes, kind of thing. And then you'll end up seeing larger and larger pools of air gravitating around each other. V4S is the largest offender because they'll get up to 28 was the largest we saw them just roaming a continent, ganking whatever air they saw with lock-ons. It's frightening.
I think actually one of the this was actually kind of an interesting story, but at one point Ganstrom and some of the people in 56RD got together all of their friends to try to counter V4S, and they did. They got them all together. They went to Hassan. They killed V4S. No one ran lock-ons, and then V4S all logged off for the night. And then they were like, "All right, cool, yeah, we did it."
That sounds like a bedtime story you tell your kid so they can go to sleep and sleep well.
Exactly. The
And then they logged off and never came back.
No, but
do you want John Alfredo to come out of this closet?
After that, Ganstrom was like, "Okay, all right, let's all go to Esamir and farm." And I was like, "What have you accomplished? You have gotten rid of one air squad, and now you're the one ruining the fun for everyone else." So yeah, I logged off at that point.
I think the problem with the gang squads aren't that they're annoying, it's that they're so hard to counter I mean, most pilots are solo players. Like, they fly alone. Even if they're in outfits, it's like most outfits only have like 1 or 2 good pilots.
Mm-hmm.
And they fly alone most of the time, and for me, like, I fly on VS, I know all the good pilots on TR and NC, but I have no idea who is good on VS because I never face them. I never fight them, so it's really hard. Like, that's what I think really need to change. Like, most of the time, like, you get engaged by 2 Reavers or whatever, and then you see someone in a size flying away in the distance. Like, it's so hard to for me to just contact that guy, hey dude, please help me out. I can't whisper him because then I'm dead. I can't do anything. I can't really talk to him. So I think that's the problem. It's so hard to communicate and work together in the air because the distance is just so huge. You're using the entire map, and it's not just like one base where it's on the ground where you have people right next to you all the time. But in the air, it's just the distances between all the bases is just so huge. So you can end up being alone for most of the time, and then suddenly a gang squad comes along. So I think that if you could have like a channel that you join, you spawn an aircraft instead of joining the sort of like the squad channel. You join an air channel that you can use voice comms and just general chatting. I think that would go a long way into like actually bringing team play to the air, because I think that once everyone on the same faction works together in the air can really change, because then lock-ons and gang squad won't matter that much because you're going up against the entire faction air force.
Yeah, okay, I'll agree on the channel thing. Yeah,
I'll ask this in light of this suggestion, but is your like outfit and leader chat and general your chat systems on Cobalt, are they mature, and the people who are using them are being tactical and effective and coordinating? Is it like that most of the time?
During alerts, maybe, but I couldn't really say because I'm never a squad leader. Most of the time I'm just in the squad, so I never really hear the leaders comms, so I'm not sure if it's being used a lot or if it's not being used.
Okay. I ask because, and viewers will probably understand this too, but for the most part, leader chat and any attempt at coordination or coordinated chat channels on Connery give me cancer from the people who use them.
Turbo cancer.
Yeah. Turbo cancer.
Yeah, and I realize that even if you have a channel for air, it might not even be used because most people, maybe they don't even care.
Yeah. So it would be a step in the right direction, though.
Yeah, it would. And you could even add like a call for help button that maybe it has a cooldown so people doesn't spam it all over the place. But maybe
it would help just in the simple fact that it's for air only. So you know if people are communicating there, you know they're in a plane, and so it just kind of filters things more easily. But I mean, I'm not saying it's not helpful, but I always found communicating in the air is actually really easy compared to communicating on the ground. So
it will be easier to form your own gang squad if you want to. If you have a channel, just I need people.
Even without that, though, I still felt like I guess it's just how I play. But communicating in the air is like a million times easier for me without a channel. That's just personal preference.
All right. For the sake of time, I'm going to have to end the interview. We have to move on to other topics because we have kind of a lot today, and we'll have to sort of speed through them. I actually took up a little bit too much time. I think the impression I'm getting is sort of that it's more similar to Emerald, though I definitely need to go there myself. I think Connery might be an exception to the rule because of all the gank squads.
Connery, do you even PlanetSide?
Connery, come on, man. Anyway,
I wanted to create my gang squad, like my own outfit with pure pilots, but I realized that I would break the server if I did that, so I didn't do it.
You're a good person. All right, let's move on. You were actually just giving some suggestions, Daikar, so we can move on to your topic.
Yeah, I actually have more suggestions. Like, just a chat channel would be awesome, as I said. And then like a button that you could just press to call for help. Maybe have it on a cooldown so people don't spam it, because I realized people would spam that if you were on a cooldown. So let's say you get engaged by 3 Reavers, you can press the button and that sends out a distress signal to anything that is close by, and then marks your location on the minimap. If there's an airplane in 3-4 kilometers, it tells them, okay, this guy needs help. I think just a simple thing like that would change a lot.
Yeah, and I see where you're coming from there. Like infantry, your teammates are right next to you, and a lot of the time they have no choice but to help you in order to help themselves because they're in the thick of it with you. But in the sky, I mean, it takes a lot of effort just to coordinate with a wingman with all the open space. It would definitely help to have more tools for communicating with randoms.
And then, like, being able to see the names of the pilots in your squad on the minimap, that's something that has annoyed me since the start of the game. Like, you press the map and you look at, okay, I need help, okay? I see 6 sites on the map, I have no idea which one is you.
Mm.
And being able to, like, set a dedicated wingman that you will always see on your HUD. Doesn't matter how far away he is, you're always gonna see him, like for example, the engagement Rader is a good example, but for friendlies.
That's another good idea.
I would like that, like a mobile. Sorry, trying to organize my thought.
Like a mission waypoint, except on your wingman all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And then you could even say how many meters away he is, so you can tell him, okay, I'm 600 meters out, I'm on my way. Because when you get engaged, it's really hard to describe for your friends where you are. It's like, okay, I'm at between this base and that base, and I'm not really sure where I am. It's really hard.
I agree and disagree with that. I agree and disagree with that. Like I can see how it's hard. Like it's definitely kind of something you have to just get better with over time. Once you kind of get to know the map and just flying overall. But I mean, back when I was with Nuck and we were flying together, we actually had the easiest time communicating just over TeamSpeak, where we are, who was doing what, and everything. And it was just simple, very simple call-outs. I've got a Reaver on me, low over the amp station, something like that. And because everyone was on obviously a higher skill level as pilots, so this doesn't apply to pilots newer pilots who don't have that kind of map knowledge or anything. But
that's kind of my idea.
It is very, very easy without any extra tools to communicate. So that I'm against
for the good pilots, yes,
that's actually a really good idea.
Yeah. But for the new pilots, like most of my ideas is from the perspective of a new pilot to just help people get into the air game, because I want more stuff to shoot at, obviously. But it's just
we want more new pilots so we can farm.
Yeah, well, I like a challenge as well, but it's just. I mean, when I got into the air game, it was easy, but now it's like, it's so fucking hard. I mean, if I started flying now, I don't know if I would have kept doing it or if I would have given up. And I think a lot of people actually do give up because it's so hard. First you have to just survive all the ground, and then there's super good pilots flying around just destroying everything.
It was definitely a process. And I mean, so much time has to be spent in VR just getting muscle memory. Like, you definitely have to want it.
Yeah. That actually reminds me of another suggestion that I would want to have in the game. Like, for something, it should be an equipable cert line for the aircraft, where if you have it, you can lock on to a target. It's not a lock-on missile, but you lock your target. And as long as you keep him within, like, I don't know, a big reticule or something, you keep the lock, and then it will show you where you need to shoot in order to hit him, like a lead helper. You know what I mean?
Aim assist.
Aim assist, yeah.
Aim assist, yeah.
And it could be, I don't know how to balance it, but I think it would, because a lot of pilots, when they start flying, they shoot at the target, but they're not sure if they're shooting in the right place, why they're missing. It's just the lack of information is really the biggest problem, really, because I mean it's even hard for me. Like, for example, when the background is a certain color, it's impossible to see your tracers, and that's really important. To see your tracers is like the biggest thing. If you see your tracers, you can compensate, but if you can't see your tracers, it's really hard to know if you're shooting in the right place or if you're hitting or missing.
You know, that reticle would require a ton of code, but I'm thinking something like War Thunder. I don't see SOE doing that, but I mean, I think it's a great idea. If I would definitely prefer it if it were to get into the game. Like, it could take up a utility slot, and it's not even a lock on. If you use that utility slot, you just get a reticle showing where you need to shoot with your nose gun.
You see, I'm not sure how that would translate into hover fights. Because a lot of pilots bleed speed, control spacebar, you're going up and down, so your reticle would essentially go up and down, and I think that'd be really annoying
it would be really
visually.
hard to code.
Yeah.
And I think that if they did code it, I think it would be extremely easy for hackers to make a namebot out of it.
Mm.
It would be a nice training tool that if they had bots in VR just flying around that you could shoot down, that might be a nice place you could start, getting your lead down. I don't know about live play though.
Well, I mean, you're not gonna learn accuracy that much off of a hover ace that's murdering you if you're new anyway. But
well, no, it's like fighting a ground player that is CS pro level. Like there's not much you can do, and you learned absolutely nothing from the encounter other than that your head makes dinging sounds.
But anyway, I could see it coming in handy if you're, chasing someone down who doesn't know how to hover fight. And that would just give you a more overall feel for how your bullets move. So that's the main application I could see for it.
Or you could go like an easier solution where you could just like sell cosmetic colors to the tracers, so you could just switch them out for whatever colors you want.
That seems
might be confusing for some people if you see red pulse coming from the side, but I guess you have to you could just do it client side
maybe.
So it's just for yourself, and everyone else sees the same bullets, no matter what.
All right. Yeah, no, that is a good. I don't know if they'd be able to sell that. I mean, they shouldn't, in my opinion, just because it's sort of an assistance thing and no one else sees it. You shouldn't have to pay for something that will help you learn. But
search table. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe certs. Yeah, that's a good idea. All right. Any more of these to fire off, or should we move on to Hater?
Well, I can't think of any now, but I probably have more, but I can't think of any right now.
Okay.
Do you mind if I butt in before Hater?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Mine's a really, really small topic, actually, today, and it was actually suggested by Lepelos from Mercenaries. And we got on the topic of resources, how they affect things if there's a proper meta, redeploy side in full swing. If you need to get points back, generally you're pulling maxes, which cost a lot of resources, moving to the point, or if a base is zerged by air, you have to pull a max in order to do that. And so, if ants get put into the game and implemented properly, and bases start becoming starved for resources, how do bases defend themselves against air in the later stages of battle when they're going low? And he came up with the idea of basically a poor man's flak turret, because they're working on more deployable turrets for infantry right now. At least that's what they say on the forums. We'll see if they come to fruition. But he talked about like a poor man's ranger turret, the flak one that you can equip on your Sunderers that no one uses because it's ineffective, but it makes a ton of noise and scares the shit out of everybody. Just as general infantry to, deter some air, but it wouldn't be that effective. It'd be more like a flash and bang kind of, frighten it away kind of thing.
Who talked about this? Sorry.
Lepelos from Merc.
Oh, okay.
It would just be a way for infantry to defend themselves with a kind of mobile platform.
I don't know. At the same time, flak already scales so hard on its own right now. Being at a major fight and having every engineer have the opportunity to put down his own deployable flak turret sounds just insane.
The thing is, it wouldn't be that powerful because you have certain firing arcs. You can't point all the way up, and you only have half of the turret to swivel.
Interesting.
So you'd have to be constantly jumping around and redeploying it. But if you wanted to create a lane where your infantry could run through to the point, it could, provide a little blanket area temporarily.
Okay. So it wouldn't be effective if you already have flak up, is what you're saying?
No, essentially, there'd be no point to run it if you already had flak up, because a Burster Max does what you do far better.
Right. Okay. I like that.
I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I don't know. I don't want more AA in the game.
I would like
it scares me, but I think it could be balanced.
I would much rather have the engineer be able to deploy a weapons terminal or something that you can use like 5 times and then you have to resupply it, so you could re-kit your maxes on the go.
That would be pretty awesome.
Mm. Yeah, I am hesitant too, just to see any additional anti-air in general. Maybe if there were to be some sort of air rework in the mix, which there isn't, but maybe that could, be a result of that. But maybe in the current state,
I'd have to agree on that. You just because the current state is so Zerg mentality, not pushing all the lanes kind of thing. It wouldn't be too healthy for the game implementing that. But if the meta was being used properly and everyone was pushing all the lanes and you had evenly distributed pops on all the fronts kind of thing, I think it would be a good thing. But might be dreaming.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Woohoo! Rader.
I would like to see in the game is like a /who function that like they have in World of Warcraft, where you can just search for players in game. I don't know why they don't have that.
That'd be nice.
But you have to leave the game in order to find a person. That's retarded.
I think also along with that, squad icons for like when you see your squad listings, there'd be nice to have like icons to show what each squad is doing that you can personally customize. So like I want to run an air op today, and Delta Squad will be the air guys, and so for Delta Squad in the recruitment page, it'd be nice to have like a little airplane beside like that wall of text.
Their menu system needs a lot of work in general.
I think the whole social system of PlanetSide is one of the reasons the game is kind of in decline. I think like the biggest thing that kept me in World of Warcraft, as long as it did, wasn't the game itself. It was all the friends that I made in the game and how easy it was to just talk to new people and stuff like that. I think that's like the biggest thing of the game. But in PlanetSide, you feel really alone, even though it's a multiplayer game, unless you're in an outfit.
I think that was SOE's mistake of before the oh my fucking god patches to improve performance and stuff. They solely focused on the new player and solo player experience instead of what a lot of leaders wanted was better leadership tools, more outfit support, and those better social infrastructure type of things that you can do to keep players in the game and playing. And now we're still left with, trying to get new players back into the game with the solo player experience.
Yeah, I don't agree at all with that. I think a solo player is so much easier to lose than a player that plays with other people. Because if he leaves the game, nobody's gonna miss him, he's not gonna miss anyone.
I definitely rage quit more often playing on my own than I did with friends, so...
Yeah, friends can help out or keep you even keel if things aren't going well, as well as, see things from different angles, offer critiques, but not like this is an MMO or something.
Oh.
This is an FPS, bro. Get good.
That's what I find funny when people complain. Oh, you 2v1 me, bro. What the fuck, man? That's unfair. Like, dude, it's a multiplayer game. It's going to happen.
Pretty much.
All right. Hater?
All right, email time. We got yet another email from Clintimus. Like sending us emails, apparently.
Motherfucker. I hate that guy.
Ginger loves reading them.
No.
Wow. Way to call out one of our viewers.
I know.
It goes
we really do love you, Clintimus.
It goes Emperor Penguin, Emperor Penguin. Emperor Penguin. Emperor Penguin.
You know,
No,
I feel kind of bad. Because last week we had the Emperor Penguin email, and then we had Rel talk about him killing Emperor Penguin on the ground in his flash and shit. And I remember in the Reddit thread for the podcast, he was just like, "I wasn't gonna listen to this, but someone else made a really good comment, and he said he was gonna listen to the podcast now." And I was like,
Shit.
He's listening to it for the wrong reasons, and it's so funny.
No, he like critiqued it in the first few comments he made, and then I said something insightful about lock-ons. He was like, "Well, no, I have to listen to it." And then I think he just made like an irritated face comment like 2 hours later.
Yeah. It's just like, I shouldn't have listened to that. They drew me in with their good talk and all their good ideas, and they just shot me down.
With the dumbfire.
Okay, off topic, way off topic, and now he's gonna hate us even more. Okay, so email from Clintimus. It reads, "Hello again, guys. Here's a suggested topic. What kind of mouse do you have? What DPI is it? And what does your flight sensitivity sit to? Maybe you guys can talk about the importance of a mouse in flying and what the meta sensitivity is among pilots, high or low. I know this is a very broad subject, so feel free to expand upon it by talking about aim, maybe specifically how one should aim when they're above or below someone." And he also says, "Good job on talking less about lock-ons in last week's episode. Felt it was the perfect amount of talking about them in relevant conversation. Season 1 talked about a lot of situations and specifics when it came to flying and less about issues. I liked it a bit better back then as it really did help me get better at flying."
All right, so to answer this email, I like the topic idea a lot, but I just want to talk about Tomcats really quick. I had an encounter on Connery the other day where I got shot down by Tomcats, and I don't know, I think that the best solution for them right now would actually just be for them to be removed from the game, because they're really not doing what they were intended to do.
We can argue that so much, though. We could play devil's advocate on that so much, but let's stay away from Tomcats.
You totally missed the point of that joke.
I know.
I don't know. I think they have a place. It's just the problem. The problem with them is that when the good pilots start using them, that's when the problem starts. Like when the good pilots use the lock-ons, that's when they break the game. But when the bad pilots use them, they're not that annoying.
Yeah, but I mean, they if you have two bad pilots that are using them, they scale so hard that it's almost impossible to do anything.
Ginger. You've got us derailed.
I see what you're doing, Ginger.
We're going back to the topic, which is flight sensitivity.
I thought it was Tomcats. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I can still probably win against two Tomcats if they're bad pilots.
I don't know. I disagree.
It depends on what continent it is. On Esamir, you're fucking dead, but on Hossen, you can definitely win against two Tomcats if they're bad pilots. It's just so much trees you can hide behind.
You can just run Tomcats yourself, too.
Yeah, that works, but that's not fun.
Tomcats. Okay. I think we killed that
Stop
joke.
trolling. Oh my god.
If we beat that dead horse enough, holy fuck. I just don't want to talk about Tomcats.
But on a serious
that
note,
way.
yes, Hassan's probably the best continent for avoiding locks, which I love it.
That just locks all together. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then,
mouse
and then
and
an
flight
alert
sensitivity.
happens.
That's what we're doing now. And Ginger, you
Okay.
can't comment for another 2 minutes.
Okay, so in terms of aiming Tomcats, I think that the best...
Royce, kick him! Wait, he's recording. You can't do that. Fuck.
I used the arrow keys when I used Tomcats.
Yeah.
So much easier.
I just use my face.
Shut
I
the
just
fuck up.
open my mouth
I
and
quit.
Roll the face.
close
I
it
quit.
over my mouse and
GG,
direct
goodbye.
my face at the person.
That was the thing in World of Warcraft, where a class was so overpowered that you could just face roll everything. And face rolling was basically you just smashed your face on the keyboard and then rolled it across the keyboard, and you won anyway because it didn't matter what skills you used.
Whenever I run Tomcats, that's what I do. It's the most effective. It's the most button presses per minute.
His APM is through the roof.
Okay.
Someone get this kid a contract.
Okay, sensitivity.
Sensitivity.
Yes.
Okay. I always have a segment whenever I'm teaching someone new to go over sensitivity. I always make sure to tell people that your ESF's turn speed is capped at a certain point, where no matter how quickly you move your mouse, it will not make your ESF turn faster. So a lot of people, when they do a wide turn who are new, will ram their mouse across the keyboard repeatedly, when in reality they could be moving their mouse a lot slowly and achieving that same turn speed without interrupting it as they're pulling their mouse back. So a lot of people who are struggling with sensitivity actually are at a fairly good spot. They just don't know it, because it can actually be really deceptive. That said, I play at 2,500 DPI and 0.53 flight sensitivity. It's different for everyone, but the overall goal that you want is to be able to perform wide turns and minute aim adjustments comfortably.
I have abnormally high sensitivity. I have 6,400 DPI at 0.8.
What? How do you make the small adjustments when aiming on range?
Are you Asian by chance?
No.
That's insane. I have 3,000 DPI and 0.1 in game.
I use Zoom. Most people use thermal, so that's one way I compensate for niche aims. So I go in and out, in and out.
I want to use Zoom, but it throws me off every time because the sensitivity is different. If the sensitivity was the same when you use Zoom, I would probably use it.
Yeah, sensitivity is capped at a certain point that you can't change when you use Zoom, which is why everyone hates it. I guess for some, if you're comfortable with that sensitivity, though, then it would be fine.
I enjoy it because for whatever reason I can find my lead, especially if it's at a distance, and I can just, and then I'm good. But yeah, most people when I tell them my loadout, they just kind of scratch their head and they go like, "You do what?"
You go Hailstorm Scythe and fly like a Reaver. That's not how this works.
Yeah, Hailstorm Racer.
And Zoom.
Yes.
I started doing something. I always want to have like the lowest amount of sensitivity that you can in an FPS game because, well, it's most of the time it's better than having a higher sensitivity.
If you're quick scoping, scrub.
True, but I don't play Infiltrator. What I started to do a few months ago, I wanted to lower my sensitivity even more. But if I do that, I'm not going to be able to roll as fast. I mean, I'm going to have to like move my mouse across the entire fucking desk, which is not really feasible. So what I did, I bound Q and E to roll left and right, and then I didn't really use them at first. But then I just started learning like if I move the mouse right, I'm going to hold E as well. So I always have maximum roll input, even though I have a really low sensitivity on the mouse.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm starting to get like used to it. Like whenever I roll to the left, I press Q at the same time.
Might toy with that. Sounds cool.
I've heard of a Reaver pilot on European servers who uses like foot pedals to ascend and descend.
That must be so crazy.
Yeah.
Like you get a fucking workout just by playing the game.
Got the stepper machine going under.
By the way,
desk.
have you seen the mouse that you can control with your entire body? Totally off topic.
I have not.
What?
Yeah, basically you scroll with your hips. You left and right click with the right and left leg, and then you use the hands to like move the mouse around. That's what happens when an artist designs a mouse.
Wow.
That sounds something like, yeah, holy cow.
All right. Well, anyway, that's pretty much most of the DPI advice that I have for that one.
Yeah, I would do the cop-out answer and experiment at whatever you're most comfortable / most effective at.
Clintimus also, I think Hader had an internet issue, which is why he's temporarily out of service. But
no,
Clintimus also emailed in a very long... Oh, you are here? Okay. Quizmas also emailed in, beyond that question, he did another very long topic, and I'm going to put that in a paste bin in the video description, and you can reference that if you're viewing on YouTube or if you have access to that in any form that you're viewing. It's very well thought out. It's too long for me to read it on the podcast, though. The essential idea is that, on Connery at least, VS is the dominant faction. It has the highest pop, and it has been that way pretty much. It's been that way since I started playing, over a year. And his argument is essentially that they will win an alert, and then they will have an easier time chain pulling because of the alert rewards, or the continent rewards. So then the next time an alert comes around, they can just chain pull. And then they'll win that alert. And it's this sort of vicious cycle, essentially, of VS winning. And he asks if that is what's really causing all of these gank squads to be happening, especially coming out of the VS more than any other faction. He argues that maybe it's not necessarily a problem with lock-ons, but it's a problem with the way that the game is set up. And I wanted to touch on that really quickly before we move into story time.
Well, I think if we're using specifically Connery, the Connery VS, by and large, have more organized outfits that are more objective about their play than the other outfits. So a lot of Connery VS care more about capping the point than they do about farming or having fun. And that's just a byproduct of what their goals are, whereas TR don't really care about, alerts or anything like that. And NC kind of try if they have a lead, or they just, leave the continent if they don't.
I could agree with that, especially since VS always win the alerts. But I mean, I think they're just on his overall point. I think he's right. He definitely gave insight about that I hadn't considered. It is easier for you to win an alert if you have won the last alert, because you can chain pull it. It is a winner's advantage, essentially. How much the VS uses that, I don't know. How much that contributes to lock-on squads, I don't know. I mean, even if we were on the old resource system, I don't know if Connery would be in a very different place in terms of, V4S and large groups of people choosing to run lock-on squads. I think that you still had the ability to do that, and I still think that was the best course of action, even with the old resource system before the rework. But I think now, since it's easier to do all that, I think it's definitely a factor, and it contributes. How big of a factor it is, though, I'm not sure. Anyway, anyone got any final points for that? Okay.
Nope, I quit.
Sorry, hater.
It's the 7th time he's quit.
Quitter.
Quit again.
I give you a second cookie. Will you come back?
Maybe.
All right. So for the sake of time, Daikar has a server smash he needs to run soon. So let's transition to story time and blitz through that, and then get this fucking shit over with.
Okay. Should I go first?
Sure.
All right. So there is a friend I haven't seen in about 5 years. And she's coming to visit soon. I'm really, really excited. We're gonna spend time and, have fun, visit the sites, catch up, and
Have sex.
Yeah, do whatever. And
it's not a big deal.
no big deal. I'm really, really excited. But anyways, one of her friends at the bar they went to last night, they're just ultra drunk, and then all of a sudden I get a video from her friend cupping both of her boobs. And then with like big smiley face, and then it says, "You jelly, bro." Yeah. I nearly fell off my chair when I saw it. I was just like, "Holy cow!"
Nice.
And then there was drunk texting throughout the night, but I won't tell what's said. It was fucking hilarious though. But yeah, you jelly, bro.
You need to post that.
Yeah, post. Pixar didn't happen.
It's actually a dude. They were cuffing his junk. Too far? Sorry.
mind. We don't need picks. We're good. All right. Well, that's interesting.
Should I do mine?
Go ahead.
This was probably 10, 12 years ago. When I was like 15 or something. And we were driving around on our scooters and just doing nothing really. And then I live like right next to the ocean, so we were down there. It was summer, and then we found a dead seagull, and it was like, what can you do with a dead seagull? And then someone had the awesome idea of we got a rope, and then we tied the dead seagull on the back of our scooters, and then we drove around like in the central part of the town where I lived in, and we knocked over trash cans with the dead seagull, and people were really upset about this because they thought we were killing the seagull. So the next day we actually ended up in the newspapers like, teenagers torture seagull to death.
Oh my god.
It was dead. Found it. Come on.
Those goddamn teenagers.
Yeah, we laughed our ass off.
This generation is fucked. Holy cow, Daikar, that's awesome.
What was the rationale there? Like, a dead seagull, let's tow it around town. That's a good thing to do.
Give it the proper burial.
We did a lot of stuff like that when we were kids. There was one time when if it's okay if I do another one.
Go ahead.
We used to stop buses where we just we drove in front of the bus like 20 or 30 scooters, like all in formation, blocking the entire road for the bus, so he couldn't get to the location on time. And a friend of mine was sitting on the back of mine, like he was facing backwards. So yeah, and we were so close to the bus that he took a screwdriver and started peeling off the Volvo emblem on the actual bus while the bus was just driving, and the bus driver was so fucking mad. And then after like 30 minutes of just blocking his path, he got really mad and started just speeding up. And my scooter was the only one that wasn't really super fucking fast. It only went like 45 kilometers an hour. I'm not sure how much that is in miles per hour, but it's not that fast. And but he thought that I was still trying to slow him down, so he hit me with the entire bus. I went down into the ditch, and this was a pretty steep ditch, so I couldn't get the scooter up by myself because it was pretty fucking heavy. So I was just sitting there in the mud, and then the cops drive up and just like, hey, what's going on here? And I was like, well, no, nothing. I'm just sitting here in the ditch. Nothing really happened after that. They let us go, but yeah, we did a lot of fucked up things when we were small.
Sounds
That's hilarious.
Were you in a like a motorcycle gang but with scooters?
Yeah, you could say that. It was like we always occupied the local gas stations where like like one time we had like 50 fucking scooters at the gas station, and then one guy screams, "Party over there!" and like a few kilometers away, and everyone just fucking trained over there, and everyone drove over there, and then we just raided the party.
Holy shit.
It was pretty fun.
What have I done with my childhood? Why wasn't I in a scooter gang? Alright. Hater.
I don't really know.
You can't top that. I mean, like,
no, I can't.
Let's be honest.
I can't. Mine wasn't good to begin with, and it's not going to top that, but it's recent. I guess that counts for like half a point, right?
Yeah.
No, maybe. I don't know. But anyways, this past Thursday was we had a half day here at the base, and because I'm technically a student, when we have a half day, it's called a mandatory fun day. It's literally, that's what it is. We go to school for the first 4 hours, and then after lunch, we're released, and we have to go to an event, a mandatory fun day.
Do you have to have fun?
Like, it's pretty much required that you have fun. Like, you leave the auditorium after the briefing, and they're like, "Okay, go have fun. Remember, it's mandatory." And so everyone's always making fun of that, obviously, because oh my god, mandatory fun. We were in the auditorium before, and we were waiting for the colonel to walk in and give us like our briefing and shit, and it just was like, I don't know, there's like 800 people in this auditorium, airmen, and someone just in the very back, you just hear someone go, "Bruh." It's like perfect silence. They're like, "Bro, bruh, bruh," and then it just starts like echoing across the entire auditorium, and everyone starts kind of like lightly chanting, "Bruh." And then the commander walks into this. So someone's like, "Bruh," right as the commander walks in, and they call area to attention. And it was one of those awkward moments. But so we go to our mandatory fun, and for the most part, they expect everyone to be playing like sports and shit. And everyone in like my class was like, "Fuck that! We're gonna either study or not do anything." And because we couldn't like bring our school supplies to study, we're like, "Okay, we don't want to play sports, and we literally can't study because we're supposed to have fun." And so we played Cards Against Humanity for 4 hours straight and pissed off everyone in the student center. And I can't remember the exact card combination, which would make this a lot funnier and less of a drag of a story if I did. But the context is there's one guy in our class, in our group of friends, that's playing with us, and he's Jewish. So we're like all trying to make the best anti-Semitic jokes possible with these cards for Cards Against Humanity. And I don't remember what the card was, but I just played the Hitler card. I literally played the Hitler card, and the look on his face when it was read out, and like when the card won, and when it was read out, the look on his face, like he was literally like speechless, and he's just looking at me like, "You are a horrible, horrible, horrible person." And I seriously thought he was gonna get up and leave after that. It was so fucking funny, but I wish I remember what the card was, because it'd make it a whole lot funnier, but there you go. Half point for effort.
All right. Well, time to wrap it up. Email us, utrpodcast@gmail.com, with topic ideas or questions, and we will answer them on the show, probably, or I will email you back. You will always get something out of emailing us. Thank you, Daikar. Thank you, Daikar, for coming on.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Have fun. Sorry we kept you over the intended time. Hope you're still okay. Doing your.
Still 15 minutes left till the.
Okay, cool.
Thingy, so.
Last thing, we didn't stream this week, and Roids is going to be on vacation over the next 2 weeks, so we're going to put the streaming idea on hold. But there will be more of that in the future, so don't worry. And that said, thank you everyone for listening. And remember,
keep it under the radar.
So those Tomcats, right?
Those Tomcats. How about them Tomcats? That was really funny. Oh my god.
Fucking A. That's why I quit.
Ben's gonna be
like,
pissed.
I quit. I don't think you heard it, but I literally threw my headset and walked away for like a minute straight.
Seriously?
Yes. For dramatic effect, but I don't think you heard it, so it doesn't matter.
No, we did not.
Damn.
You saw that your mic was muted. We thought it was your internet.
No, I was playing the card that I literally quit. Like I couldn't take it anymore. Can't take it anymore.